Releasing, opening, releasing, opening, attuning, 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 attuning. Nyak ora ishera sisi sieta kaka reatre ora ishera yatra. Naya rota triat et oa isia sera yatra. Releasing, releasing, releasing. Releasing, expanding, 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 expanding. More light, divine rays, anchoring, 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 anchoring into systems. More light, anchoring, 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 attuning, attuning. Attuning, 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 clean, releasing, 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 letting go, 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 letting go of all that does not serve you. Every physical ailment or everything that we have manifested in the physical links back to our energetic body, to our light body, to our astral body. So we have a lot of different bodies. So the light language will work on these, and once these are activated, then again it funnels through and that anchors into the more 3D body and the more physical. The quantum realm is the bridge between science and spirituality, because even science.
Hi, this is Akanksha. If you're new here, please subscribe to my channel. If you resonate with me, please like, comment, and share. Welcome to Multidimensional Soul podcast and a talk show. On this show, we talk about deep spiritual and mystical experiences of people which we normally shy away talking about. We are more than our physical body. We are spiritual beings on a human journey, and we discuss how a soul exists on multiple dimensions. We discuss science, technology, and spirituality point of views and perspectives on this show. Our purpose is to open our minds to limitless possibilities and our hearts to love and shine the light within bright. Our guest today is Althea Lucrezia. She's a multidimensional channel and a light codes expert. She delves in intricate language of light and its role in awakening our unique and divine potential. She assists in clearing timelines, accessing the Akashic realm. She's a galactic contactee, Reiki practitioner, a Kundalini yoga teacher, and psychic ascension energy activator. She's also an influencer on social media. Through her insightful teachings and experiential practices, she helps people in spiritual awakening, empowering their highest potential, unlocking their dormant DNA, and facilitating a deeper connection with celestial beings from higher realms and distant realms. And she does it with the help of transmission of light codes and other healing modalities. Althea has done some very deep work with single mothers, from people who are in abusive relationships, with people who have history of genocides in their family, and people who have been in drug abuse, incarceration. Very, very profound work. In our conversation, Althea kept her channel open because she's a conscious and embodied channeler. And towards the end, we also had light language, light codes transmission. And we discussed about the concept of light language, its interaction with DNA, its role with the collective healing of the planet. Althea talked about higher dimension versions of her own self and how she get downloads and transmissions from them, from the higher dimensions, how she integrates them. We talked about the sacred geometry and its connection with the light codes, about bringing light to our shadows, about how Althea works with the body and cleansing the patterns through yoga, through Qigong. We also talked about how to deal with karmic cycles, how to ascend. We talked about the split of Earth and what's coming up in the next decade, multiverse and multiple timelines, and much, much more. It was a very, very intriguing and very fascinating conversation. I enjoyed it. I hope you enjoyed too. We have with us today Althea Lucrezia, who is a light worker and light codes expert. A very warm welcome, Althea, on the Multidimensional Soul talk show and a podcast. It's an honor and lovely to have you here.
Thank you so much for having me.
I would like to tell our viewers that Althea is a conscious channel, an embodied channel. And throughout this interview, she is actually connecting. And towards the end, she's going to go deeper and do the light language activation and channeling essence. So, yeah. So, can you talk a little bit about your journey? How did you start receiving the light codes? How did you get into this entire experience from your childhood?
Sure. Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I started very young. I was one of those kids who would see, shadows in their room and couldn't sleep. So I always had my psychic vision and intuition be quite open. I come from a long lineage of witches. My mom also has psychic vision and intuition, and so did my grandmother, who is now passed on, but she's still very connected to me anyway. They never took they never did any psychic work for a living, but all the women in my family have always been very highly in tune and very, very psychic as well. So I started very young, and then I think I got my first tarot deck at like 12. And then in my teenage years, I kind of like moved a little bit closer and then a little bit more away from spirituality. And then what happened is what I now understand as me being like really overwhelmed by all the emotions and things that I was picking up on a collective level. And so trying to like numb and going into like a not so healthy coping mechanisms, which I know most star seeds and beings who are here right now have been through as well. So for me, it was very much like suppressing because I was feeling so much, but at the time I didn't understand that was why, so I had to then learn to integrate what I was picking up and what I was feeling in a healthy way. And then I would say I started with my Reiki in like my early 20s, but I had my very big like awakening, kind of like traumatic experiences around my Saturn return. So 27, 28, 29 years old. And that's kind of when everything really opened up for me. And I started downloading more information. My light language activated back in 2017. It started first written, and then the speaking and talking started coming through from that as well. So, and then it was kind of like a gradual opening from there. But I would say that was about the time where I had my most intense experiences and awakenings.
Okay, so can you tell our viewers what is light language and how does it interact with our DNA?
Yeah, so that's a really good question. So light language to me is an expression of the soul. It can be expressed in a lot of different ways. It can be sung, it can be written, it can be moved, and it bypasses the conscious mind. So it works directly on the DNA structure. The codes are intelligent. They operate in fifth dimensional density frequency. What does this mean? This means they operate beyond the constraints of space and time. So I can channel light codes now, but someone can receive them tomorrow. And they go where they are most needed in the system. So because the code is intelligent and multidimensional, it will work in a specific way on someone, but it might work, the same code might work differently on someone else. To me, light language is the new technology that's coming in to assist on a collective level. It's kind of like an evolution from something that would be like your Reiki or your more like earth-based healing frequencies. The language itself has different galactic imprinting. However, people have been channeling since forever. So people have been speaking in tongues since forever. So what the language used to be like was more like earth-based imprinting. And now, because of the ascension process and the vibrational frequency of the planet rising on a collective level, people are accessing these high vibrational frequency dialects of light language that are imprinted with their own soul construct. So let's say some will have more like a Pleiadian imprinting energetically to it. Some will be more Arcturian, some will be more technology, and it's really like a very powerful modality and medium to assist, the healing of the planet on a collective, on an individual level. But It's so much more than just a language. I think the English language is limited, to explain these things, because it can also be translated into geometry. Like light language can be sacred geometry as well. Light is information. So it's information coming through in different aspects, in different ways, and for people to integrate in the best way for them at that moment in time.
Wow. Okay, I have a lot of questions for you. So when you mentioned about light language coming from a higher dimension, and you mentioned fifth dimension, and it's beyond time and space, and then even if you transmit it now, depending on that person's need and requirement, probably he or she will receive it at that time. So is it just fifth dimensional, or is it, because what I understand is right now people are comprehending up to 12 dimensions, but there are infinite dimensions literally. So are there any different codes for different dimensions? And you mentioned that Pleiadians have different codes, and so there may be different codes from different solar systems, different planets as such. So can you talk a little bit about how these codes differ based on the planets or the solar systems or the dimensions?
So it's an energetic imprinting. So let's say for me, for example, when I work with Pleiadian energy, it will be a rainbow ray spectrum energy that will assist in heart opening, throat activation. So in this area here, when I'm working with the Turian technology, it'll be more like actually going in and clearing and releasing and removing, detangling, deporting, peripheral clearing. So again, it's really based on the energetic worker. So like this is how I work, but someone else might work differently and with different codes. For example, I work a lot with Atlantean and Lemurian codes that work a lot with activating memory and dormant DNA, which is a whole other different process as well. So again, it really depends. Also, like the energy worker that does the transmission can also infuse a specific intention in it. So let's say I'm channeling for the collective and I set the intention for it to assist in clearing people's throat chakras. That's kind of like where the codes will go and how they will assist.
And how are they different based on the dimensions? Like, are there like fifth dimensional different code, 10th dimensional different codes? How is it?
So what are you asking? You're asking how differently they work on the system.
Right. And
Yeah.
how differently you channel? Are there any beings from, let's say, 10th dimension or 9th or 6th or 7th dimension that give you the downloads, or how do you get them?
Yeah. So I think because the dimensions are all multidimensional, it's very difficult to say, So for me, my Palladian version is a 9th dimensional being, and my Mantis version is a 12th dimensional being. Having said that, when I'm channeling codes, I'm not really like asking, oh, what dimension is this from? The information sometimes will come to me. Technology generally 6th dimensional density and higher. That's what I've noticed. And then from the 6 and 70, you'll have also a collection of souls that come together to form like a bigger soul. So like your Christ consciousness, your Ra collective, those would be 6th dimensional density beings that would send through codes. But I think, so this is what they're sending to me now. I think for them to be integrated in the best, it's almost like they carry high vibrational frequency programming, but they all need to be filtered through the 5D for people to be able to integrate them at this moment in time. So they do carry frequency from higher, but I think they need to go through the 5D for integration. Yeah, this is what they just sent to me now. So I hope it makes sense.
Yeah, thank you so much for clarifying that. What I would like to know is, and I love to kind of converge science and spirituality in our discussions. So when you talked about DNA healing and dormant DNA being activated, so can you talk about little bit DNA repair and dormant DNA, and is there any way that it is scientifically kind of measured? For example, there are companies like 23andMe and other companies who are actually doing the genes and the DNA studies, and then they tell you about your ancestry, and then they don't go deeper on spiritual side, but then they do health assessments, and then they'll tell you what to take care of in terms of body. But it goes, our DNA is where the non-local consciousness meets the local consciousness, as Deepak Chopra puts it. So I'm very fascinated by DNA. So can you explain a little bit about DNA repair and dormant DNA being activated?
Sure. So I just want to give a disclaimer. I'm not a scientist. I don't have a scientific background or degree or anything like that. Everything that I know and I speak of is channeled, and it's the information that has come through to me through my channel. So when we talk about light language activating the DNA, it's activating on a 3D, 4D, and 5D level. So what does this mean? It means that it's activating the etheric DNA present within our system. So yes, on a physical level, but also from an energetic perspective. Every physical ailment or everything that we have manifested in the physical links back to our energetic body, to our light body, to our astral body. So we have a lot of different bodies. So the light language will work on these, and once these are activated, then again it funnels through and then anchors into the more 3D body and the more physical DNA. I mean, I'm not sure, but I think that they think that 95% of the DNA that we have, they don't know what it is, and yeah, so that's about as far as my scientific understanding goes. However, what I can say is that the quantum realm is the bridge between science and spirituality, because even science really can't explain some things that spirituality can explain within the quantum realm. So that is where the two meet, in my opinion, and from my understanding.
Yeah, thank you for that. Right. So when you talked about DNA getting downloaded also in geometric forms, and there is sacred geometry, there is Fibonacci spiral seen in many forms in the universe. There are pyramids, then there is Merkaba, which is of Archangel Metatron, and there are different geometric shapes. So can you explain how light language and these geometric codes interact with each other, or how are they integrated with each other?
Yeah. So again, this is my experience and how I see and visualize. So information is light. Okay, light is information. So what happens when I'll pull through a code? I will speak it or I will sign it, and I will see the actual geometric structure anchor within the third dimensional density matrix grid construct of the Earth. So if you imagine our dimensional density being built, okay, you imagine the quantum realm, everything is in constant movement, something is just solid when you touch it, right? But everything is moving all the time. So what happens? This geometry anchors within that structure. So when your vision is activated, you'll be able to actually see through the quantum realm. So what started happening with me when my vision started activating back in 2017 is I would be driving around and see whole buildings sway and move, and I would see things like dismantle and remantle, and now I can tune in and out of it, I have control over it, but at the time I didn't when it first started. And then my guides explained to me, they're like, this is how things actually are. We just trained, and our brain is just trained to see things as static, but everything is moving all the time. So what happens within this construct is the light code gets brought in and then gets embedded within the third dimensional density matrix, and so to raise the vibrational frequency and do what it is that it needs to do. And it's the same concept in the structure of the body. It gets embedded in the body, it gets embedded in the structure, and then absorbed and then integrated within the DNA, or again, what is needed for the person at that moment in time. Sometimes it's a very basic thing. The person has a headache, and the geometry basically integrates and goes around the whole head, and then energetically transmutes and clears the frequency of the headache, because everything is frequency. So is the headache, the pain, whatever that you're feeling, it's all a vibrational frequency. So sometimes it literally just balances that out and counteracts it. Sometimes it will go in and bind with a low vibrational frequency emotion that you have, like a grief in the heart, and then it will take it out, and then they neutralize each other. So then the grief is gone from the heart center. So it's very interesting. Again, it's very almost easy for me because I can see it, but I understand that it's very abstract concepts for someone to kind of grasp. But I think now with AI, it's very beautiful to see, because a lot of the sacred geometry that I was seeing before now can actually be made and symbolically and physically expressed through the technology that it is coming to us.
Oh, that's really beautiful. When you talked about buildings moving and all, you reminded me of Inception, how that architect girl actually navigates in between. So, yeah, given that you have traversed across vibration, because you yourself had got experience that, what kind of psychic powers can you have? Is it like because you can change your DNA, dormant DNA, anti-aging is possible, or astral travel because you can raise your vibration and go to the dimension that you want? What kind of psychic powers do you think are possible because of this?
So everything is possible. There's no limit. Like everything is absolutely possible. And the way how I understand that it works is we come here with specific lessons. As we heal ourselves and heal our system and navigate these lessons, we do something that is called soul fragment retrieval, which means that we bring back parts of our soul that perhaps before had been split off. Having said that, it doesn't mean that we aren't whole. We are very whole just the way that we are. We just start upgrading the system. And as we integrate these parts of soul, they activate dormant parts of our DNA, and we integrate psychic powers and abilities that we had maybe in previous, parallel, or future lifetimes. We all have all the clairs. So the clairs are, it's clairaudience, clairvoyance, clairgustance, clairalience, and clairsentience. So we all have all of them. Some people have some more developed than others. So for me, for example, I have clairvoyance, which is very developed. I've used all of them, but right now I just actually use claircognizance, which is just like an innate knowing and intuition, because it's just easier. I'll still get visuals when I'm working with my clients and things like that, but generally I will just anchor into my claircognizance because it's just quicker and more efficient. So everyone has a channel, everyone has a chakra system, everyone can access these gifts and these powers. It's just a matter of like training, you know. So same with like a sport or anything, you get better the more you do it. If you tuning in and channeling information the whole day, you're going to be very good at it, you know. So it's important for people to understand that, like, I'm not special. I've just been doing this for a lot longer than your standard person, so I'm better at it. But anyone can really tap into information. Anyone can connect to their guides. Everyone has a channel, and everyone can connect to their psychic senses. And again, with this healing process, the more you heal, the more you work on yourself, the more your system upgrades, the more soul fragments you integrate, the more memory you start downloading. You will start having downloads of previous, parallel, future timelines that you've lived in, on Earth, off Earth, with people that are here with you on Earth, maybe in medieval times, maybe in Egypt, maybe in Lemuria. Everyone is different, but the more healing you do on yourself, the more you will start anchoring into these multidimensional aspects of yourself. And it's really when we start activating and integrating the multidimensional aspects that a lot more of these gifts start to come online.
Yeah, what I understand is there is no such thing after fifth. When you go in fifth dimension, there's no such thing as time. Time is a man-made construct. So there's no such thing as time and space. Actually, everything is happening because all that is there is now, the present moment, and everything is happening in parallel in the quantum realm. So all our lives there's no such thing as past life, future life. They're actually happening in parallel. So very beautifully you explained about soul fragmentation and retrieval of that. When you talked about all these lives, and we have different lessons to learn in different lifetimes, and that's why we project our consciousness across these lifetimes and timelines. So what can you talk about how to get off this karmic cycle? Because what I understand is Earth, we come especially to clear our karmic cycles, and Earth is like a school to learn the hardest lessons, and in the universe. That's what I understand from Dolores Cannon and Bashar and a lot of other people, that Earth is the hardest school that is there. And because we get stuck in this karmic wheel or the cycle again and again, we kind of are born here. So how do you kind of come out of these patterns, these cycles, this trauma?
Very simple. Make sure your thoughts, actions, emotions, and words are all in alignment. You're saying something and you're doing it. Make sure you are living in your truth. If you're speaking your truth and you're setting your boundaries and you're anchoring into who you really are, everything else is going to align. Everything that is not meant for you will fall away, and everything that is meant for you will come to you. And we get brought up in consumeristic society thinking that we need external things to be happy, validation, people pleasing, especially like women, you know. So it's really important to understand that you are not your thoughts and deprogram yourself for everything you have been taught to believe that you are, and reprogram yourself into your own individual truth, and in understanding that you are an infinite being of light. So it doesn't matter what is happening. There is no wrongs in life. There's only lessons. You do something, it doesn't go in a way that makes you happy. You do something differently next time, anchoring into your joy, anchoring into your creativity, anchoring into the inner child happiness. Following that will take you in a good alignment, because that's really all it's about. It's about being in a high vibrational frequency alignment, and then everything else tends to fall into place, you know. So speaking your truth, setting your boundaries, making sure that you are saying something and then you're following through with it, you're doing it. If someone asks you to do something and you don't really want to be doing it, but you do it anyway, like let's say a family member, you're not living in your truth. You're not setting that healthy boundary with them. And in not doing that, you might also be taking a lesson away from them. They might need to hear that boundary from you. So it's really important in checking in with yourself, you know. And if you struggle to understand what it is that you want, check with the body, the somatic response. How are you feeling? If you want to, like, someone asks you to do something, does it feel good and happy and light, or do you feel like a knot in the stomach? Does it feel weird? Do you kind of like not want to do that? You know, and in that way, it'll give you a bit of a recalibration to know and understand. So we have all these ideas and concepts, and we speak so much about, you know, multidimensionality and galactic beings and fifth dimensional frequency and densities and up, but we need to learn how to be here. This is why we're here. We need to learn to be present, embodied, and grounded here. Once that is anchored, then we can go up there. And I have the perfect example, because I had this happen with a client yesterday. She came to me for a session, and she had a lot of energetic clearing that needed to be done, a lot of cording, a lot of blockages. So I did all of that, and I cleared, and I said to her, this is what you need to do to move forward. And she was like, thank you, thank you, thank you. And then she was like, no, but I want to know about my galactic family. I want to know about my alien beings. I want to know this. And I said to her, you need to first master being here, you know. She's like, but this is why I came to you. And I said to her, I don't make the rules. I don't decide what information comes through to you. What comes through for you is what is meant for you. And that is where the surrender and trust in the process comes to, you know. We have this attachment to identity. And I get a lot of people like, I really want to know this. And there's nothing wrong with wanting to know, but do you have an attachment to it? Why do you want to know so much? So you need to kind of ask yourself that first, you know, and working with these emotions of surrender, of being present, of being here, of being in the now, is really a great way to put it, and a great direction to go down. And then everything else is going to come. If you want to see alien beings, guys, you will. Like, I promise you, you will if you want to. But some things need to click in order before you are necessarily able to do that. Not for everyone, but there's generally kind of like a standard process that people have to go through.
Right. You talked about repair, and when we talk about DNA repair and junk DNA, and there is a lot that is passed through the lineage, and there is a lot of ancestral trauma that gets passed. I understand it gets passed through 7 generations or more. So how do you heal that using the light language?
Okay, so first of all, the light language will initiate, but it's down to the individual to clear the pattern. Like that, I mean, you know, it's we have to all take sovereignty and full responsibility. But what the light language can do and help is it can actually neutralize the cord and timeline, but then it's up to the person to not go back into the loop. So let's say, example, every woman in your family has an eating disorder, okay? And you grow up seeing everyone in the family have an eating disorder, and you also have an eating disorder, okay? You can come to me for the light language, and I can assist in neutralizing the cord when you come to me. But if you know, the week after you go back to the same, to the same pattern of having the eating disorder, then, you know, that's not going to really be very, very beneficial, if it makes sense. So, and once you clear for yourself, you clear for everyone. Okay. So, because as you mentioned, time, I wouldn't say time is a man-made construct, but time is a third-dimensional density construct. It doesn't exist in the 4D. In the 4D, we only have limitation of space, and in the 5D, there's no limitation of time and space. So you can heal the timeline instantly. So actually, if you learn to access the quantum realm, you can see the program and clear it, but then you need to follow through in the 3D. You can't just do it there and then you go into 3D and you start like going back to the old patterns, whether it's smoking or eating or whatever it is, people pleasing or abusive relationship. So the light language assists in many ways, but it's down to the individual to reclaim their sovereignty and to kind of like clear the pattern. And what I understand with these lessons is what happens is in the beginning they're kind of like easy, but if you keep on ignoring them, then they'll get harder and harder and harder until they're in your face and you're like, oh, actually, like, okay, I need to really, really work on this or work on this part of myself. And I think, yeah, this is a perfect example that they're sending to me now that I use sometimes. It's like, let's say you get in a relationship, okay? So let's say I'm a woman, I get in a relationship with a man, and this man is amazing. And 3 months down the line, I find out that we are in a union, in a partnership, and we're committed to each other. And I find that he's messaging other women. Okay. And I find out from his phone or from another woman or whatever. Okay. And he comes to me and he's like, babe, I'm so sorry. Like, I love you. I want to be with you. I won't do it again and whatnot. So I have two choices. Okay. I can either like forgive him and be like, yes, sure, I'll be with you, whatnot. Or I can walk away. Okay, if I walk away, okay, well, that's it, finished. If I choose to forgive him, okay, what can happen is 2 years down the line, now I catch him cheating, okay? That's the same lesson. It was just a lot harder 2 years down the line because I chose to ignore it the first time. Meanwhile, if I would have just walked away the first time, then the lesson would have been learned, okay? And then what happens with the universe is once you learn it, you move away and out of that vibrational frequency. So it doesn't necessarily send it to you anymore in the same way. It can sometimes test you. Like I've noticed that sometimes it can send you kind of like similar experience. And again, it's still up to you to say, actually, no, this is not in my frequency. I don't want it anymore until it's fully learned. And then you're not really anchoring into it anymore. It doesn't happen to you anymore. So that's kind of like how I understand lessons and how I see them. It's like, when you ground it, it goes back to being grounded and present and you're in the now, then you're able to see the lessons. If you're too busy worrying about the past or the future, you're not going to see the lessons in front of you and you're going to ignore them. And then they're going to like hit you really hard in the face, So it comes back down to being present, being grounded, being embodied and being in the now.
Yeah, right. Many times what I understand is that the lessons become harder because there are some shadows which we are kind of unaware of. And unless we bring light to those shadows, and shadows are those repressed or suppressed aspects which we kind of refuse to accept. And many of them are at the subconscious level. And that's why it is harder to learn the lesson and move ahead in life. So, do you work on the shadow front as well, bringing light over there? Is it at the body level, mind level? How do you work?
Yeah, so very good question. Yeah, of course. I mean, I work in all aspects and areas that have to do with this. So for me personally, in my own experience, I move a lot through physically. So I have a very active physical life. I'm a qualified yoga teacher. I do a lot of Tai Chi, Qigong. I move through things a lot. And I find that that's a really beautiful way to bring things up that you're not aware of. And sometimes it's connected to your thoughts and sometimes it's not. Like sometimes I'll have like immense grief and I'll be like, oh, okay, is it mine? Is it the collective? Does it matter? Not really. Let me just clear it and move through it. But again, like being aware of what triggers you is doing shadow work. So let's say you're at a dinner with family members and your mother says something that triggers you. Take a step back. Okay, why is it triggering me? Is it some childhood trauma? Is it? And that's how you bring light to the shadow. And that's how you kind of like see the aspects that are more subconscious and hidden. So there's many different ways. Everyone, people can have their own methods, but this would be something that, is quite simple to do. Like understand why something is triggering you, why is it upsetting you, and also understanding that you're the only person who is in control of your emotions. Like no one else can control them, so taking responsibility for that. And if you are allowing other people to control your emotions, you're giving your power away. So again, kind of like coming back to why is this affecting me, operating from that compassionate non-attachment, 0 point neutrality space is where you want to be. And how do you get there? You ground, you meditate, you stay present. It all goes back to the same. It all loops back into the same.
Absolutely. Yeah, very true. Very true. You mentioned about when we are in the 5D, we can access the timelines in an easier way and then repair whatever trauma or healing needs to be done. When we talk about manifestation, and many times it takes time to manifest our dreams and desires because 3D is dense, and because of that, there are delays because of the vibration that we are in. But when we go to 5D, we can collapse timelines and bring it here. So how do you work with the timelines in terms of collapsing them?
Yeah. Again, very good question. So you are living in the 3D, but you want to be operating from a 5D template. That's really the trick. That's what you want to be doing. So I think that it really has to do, again, with being in a neutral space. So understanding that you manifest what you are, not what you want. So for me, I work a lot with gratitude. Gratitude puts you in a state of abundance. If you're very grateful for everything that you have, you're going to attract more of what it is that you want. But the want needs to come from an objective space, from a neutral space. It cannot come from a space of need, because that is lack. And that puts you back into polarity. So it's kind of like a fine line. There can be like, fake it until you make it sort of like way. Also, you can really work on deprogramming yourself and reprogramming yourself with affirmations, writing down your mood boards or whatever it is that you would like to manifest. But when you access your 5D template, it's almost like you need to understand that the universe will send you also what is best for your highest alignment. If you sit and you want to manifest a Ferrari, that's going to be harder than you wanting to manifest a job that brings you joy and happiness. You know what I mean? Like maybe the Ferrari will come after if that is what you really, really want, but when you are trying to manifest from the ego space, it's a lot more difficult. It needs to come from a space of compassion, non-attachment, and unconditional love, and 0 point neutrality as well. So I'll give an example. Everyone wants to manifest, financial abundance and abundance. Okay. So let's say, first of all, ask you, why do you want to manifest financial abundance? Is it to buy a house? So you want to feel safe, secure, supported. Let's say that's your reason. So what do? You to manifest from a 5D template, you will clear your mind, and you will access that 0 point neutrality space, which ideally is where you want to be living from on a day-to-day basis. You don't really want to have to meditate for 3 hours to get there. You want to live from that space. And when you're in that space, you become the emotion that the abundance of the manifestation will give you. So let's say it's the house. So then you feel safe, you feel secure, you feel supported, you feel like you are in the house, and you give gratitude while you are anchoring into that intention. All the timelines already exist. You just need to align with the one that holds the manifestation or intention that you want to be in. And it's a matter of raising your frequency to match that, or changing your frequency in order to match that. So, yeah, it's a game to some extent. It's a game. And I think the best thing that you can do to be in a space where you can manifest very quickly is operate from a neutral space. Again, going back to 0 point neutrality and grounding and being present in the now moment.
Yeah. You talked about healing trauma for your clients. What has been the most memorable experience? Can you share a couple of stories of your clients?
Okay, yeah, I mean, there's many. I work a lot with women who've come out of abusive relationships, and who've been in narcissistic relationships, like physical abuse and things like that. I work a lot with single moms as well. It was funny because when I first started, 90% of my clients were women, and now it's actually like basically half and half. So it's been very interesting to see how the divine masculine has been stepping up to the plate as well. I have recently worked with someone who has been in and out of jail and drug abuse for about 20 years. So that was quite like memorable. I've worked with people who've lived through different kind of genocides and had all their family members murdered. So like I get quite like, you know, I've worked with people who've been in and out of psych wards because they're so psychically aware and in tune that their family was like, no, you're crazy. And then they end up being put in these institutions, you know, and then they come out and they're like, actually, they don't understand, you know, what is going on. I've worked with people who've been in MK Ultra programming as well, who've come out of it and are now kind of like trying to understand and remember and figure out what happened to them. I do memory retrieval as well. So I'm a qualified hypnotherapist. I don't really advertise it in my services, but people do programs with me. I will do that with them as well. So yeah, so this is just some of the cases that I've had, but it's really like, I mean, I've had tens of thousands of clients, and there's never been one that's been the same as the other. So it's always a beautiful experience to be able to learn from these people as much as, you know, I help them. It's always kind of like an equal exchange.
Wow, that's really profound and such wide array of experience you got. Very different. Wow, takes courage to do that actually. So yeah, you mentioned about divine masculine stepping up, and I am on the twin flame journey myself. As far as what I understand is that right now we are going to have more divine feminine also kind of coming up or rising, because so far there has been a lot of aggression and violence and all this qualities which were of masculine, and the more feminine qualities like compassion, nurturing, all those qualities have been missing. And right now there is the need of the hour is to have those feminine rising. So what's your understanding of balancing the divine feminine and divine masculine, and how does light language play a part in that?
So you mean balancing in the individual or on a collective level?
Both.
Okay. So, well, right now what's happening is within the ascension process, the feminine is leading and the masculine is kind of like playing catch up, even though there's been kind of like a more masculine embedded vibrational frequency on the planet as a collective. But, you know, within the experience and especially within the community, the feminine is the ones that are open up. The way the dynamic works between the two, even in a union, it's the feminine opens and channels and the masculine holds grid, holds space around, you know. So I think with, you know, moving forward, definitely like we're going to be seeing like a lot more of the masculine stepping up to the plate, like we've been seeing in the past few years as well. The light language will assist on balancing. I think we all have both within our systems. Obviously, like if you're a woman, you chose to come here within this woman body, so you want to operate more from the feminine. However, you need your masculine balanced as well. So you need your boundaries. You need, you know, your voice. You need your truth. Not that the feminine doesn't have that, but the feminine is more like, you know, a softer embodiment, a compassion, like you said, a patience, and things like that. So we both have both. And we need to work on balancing both. But obviously within a union with a masculine and a feminine, the feminine will be anchored more in the feminine and the masculine would be anchored more in the masculine. But I have seen unions where some parts and aspects of the two people are counteracted and they work anyway. So everyone is on their own individual journey. So it's difficult to kind of like pinpoint and say, oh, it's going this direction or it's going that direction. But what I can say is that definitely the masculine is, you know, anchoring into a high vibrational frequency space and coming out to lead more of the masculine in the masculine way.
Yeah, beautiful. As we are ascending in the earth itself is ascending in the higher dimension, fifth dimension, what can you tell people? How can they bring in this higher vibration in here and now? How can they ascend?
Just be present, stay grounded, navigate your life from your heart center. Boundaries are the highest form of self-love. So be firm with your boundaries. Understand also that 5D is not a place. We're not going anywhere. We're just going to be operating from that high vibrational frequency template. So, sometimes I hear people, oh, but what about the others that are not doing spiritual work? Like, someone can not be doing spiritual work, but still be operating from a 5D template and be in a high alignment. There's, millions of people out there who are living a beautiful life, but aren't necessarily waking up and meditating. They have their own understanding. They have their own connection. They have their own way of operating on a day-to-day basis. So my advice would be to stay in your truth, stay in compassion, stay in gratitude, just be a good human, really. Like it really just comes down to like, be a nice person, help where you can. And if you can't, it's okay. Don't guilt trip you if you can't help, because that kind of like puts in a loop. But operate from the heart center.
Okay. When you talked about Earth as a ascending, what is the role of Earth in this universe? And do you work with the Galactic Federation of Light? How does this entire governance work? Can you explain a little bit about that?
Yeah, sure. So I work with higher versions of myself. So I work with high vibrational frequency beings. There's a lot of different collectives up and out there that are assisting the planet. I work a lot with the Arcturians as well. So it's really difficult to pinpoint and say, oh, these people are doing this, those people are doing that. So with regards to Earth itself, the Earth is its own sentient and conscious and aware being, and it is going through its own experiences just like us. So it's going through its karmic lessons, it's going through its traumas, it's going through its learning experience. So the frequency of the Earth will rise with the collective. There's ley lines and points within the grid Earth systems that are being activated as we speak. So that's kind of like some work that I do as well. This is why I travel a lot, because I will go and anchor into different grids and activate specific ley lines and portal and energetic DNA structures within the Earth itself. And there's so many beings out there that are helping with this work as well. When there's these like huge collective meditations, like these beings come down, they help, they assist. So again, the disclosure is happening already on an individual level. Like, so many people are seeing beings, connecting to beings, speaking to different beings. So every experience is valid. Everything that everyone says is valid within their own realm and within their own experience. Again, as to my experience, I work with specific beings. I've worked with collectives before. I've worked with the Christ consciousness. I've worked with the Ra collective. I do sometimes have beings on ships that come down and I channel through them. I've worked with gray beings. I've worked with Asasani beings quite a bit as well. So it really, really depends. But so it just really depends on kind of like what you tune in and what comes through to you. But there's definitely like tens of thousands of races of beings that are assisting. Like, there's a lot of them, guys. There's a lot. So if you want to call on them, like, there's a lot.
Yeah. Okay. And what's your understanding of the ascension process? Because some of them are saying that Earth is going to be split. So not everybody is choosing to ascend, and not everybody has finished karmic cycles as well. So they are saying that there is going to be a 3D Earth, and then there is going to be a 5D Earth. So what is your understanding about that?
Yeah, I mean, there's timelines splitting all the time. There's already like thousands of Earths existing in the different timelines. I don't think you can operate from a 5D template and still be working through karmic cycles and lessons. It doesn't have to be completely done for you to operate from a 5D template. So one doesn't preclude the other. There will be people choosing exit points, which means they will leave and reincarnate and then come back as different beings and things like that. But I don't necessarily see per se like a double split like a lot of people say. I mean, there can be thousands of splits because there's thousands of timelines and thousands of people taking different directions. So that's kind of like my understanding of it.
Okay, the multiverse theory, essentially.
Basically, yeah. If you want to say it, yeah.
Okay. Okay, can you talk about a little bit more detail about you being guided by your own higher versions like Mantis, you mentioned, and one other being in some other dimension. So can you just explain that a little bit?
Yes. So these beings started to come to me. Well, I mean, I first saw a video of a woman when I was like maybe 9 or 10 years old on like television, and this was the 90s, so it was those old box square televisions, like not the flat screens, like the box ones, you know.
Yeah.
And she was saying in an interview that she was from Pleiades, and something clicked in me when I heard that, and I was like, "Oh my goodness, me too." Sort of thing. So that was the first time I
Sorry,
had
can you please repeat that? She was from
Pleiades, from the constellation of Pleiades, which is a
Pleiades.
constellation
Okay.
in the Taurus. Yeah. So something clicked for me, and I was like, "Oh, okay." Like I'm also from there, and I didn't really know at the time, you know. So that was the first time I had sort of like a galactic slash encounter understanding. And then when my channel started opening more and I started channeling more consciously and I was more aware of what was coming through, I saw this ninth dimensional Pleiadian version of myself, and then it slowly integrated within me. So I don't really, it's for me, I don't have to call on anyone. Like it's just, they always hear it. They always integrated and they're parts of me. So part of them is within me, but part of them is also existing within their own dimensional density and reality. With the mantis being, it's very connected to my Atlantean and Lemurian timelines, and a lot of Atlantean technology will come through the mantis being. So whenever I do my coded art, or my drawings or my digital codes or my hand drawn codes and things like that, that would be that. So with the geometry and things like that. But again, it really depends. So the way I see it, and I actually gave a lecture on this last year, the Conscious Life Expo. The way my channel works, and a lot of other embodied channelers work, it's not one channel. The channel is also multidimensional. So the channel is operating on a multidimensional level. It's like there's thousands of channels embodied within the same channel. So when I channel for a collective will be different to when I channel for myself, which will be different to when I channel for an individual client, if it makes sense. So yeah, so there's kind of like a multi-channel theory there as well.
Wow, it's really fascinating, to learn about all of this. When you channel all these, whether it's collective or individual, do you decide whom to channel, or at that time, whoever comes, you channel them?
It depends. Sometimes I will be consciously aware and be like, okay, now I call in this being, I call in that being. Sometimes I kind of leave it open. Whenever I do collective channelings, it is generally the higher versions of myself that come through. But if there's clients, sometimes it'll be their beings, their higher selves. It really depends. So I kind of, I flow and I follow intuitively what is needed at the moment in time.
Okay. There has been a lot of chaos happening, especially post-COVID. 2020, it was like a disruption of entire humanity, and it is continuing the roller coaster ride. And we still have wars and a lot of unrest in the world. What is your understanding in terms of 2024, 2025, 26, and the coming decade? Are we going to see a major shift? What I understand is that there'll be a time, and that's not very far off in future, but there'll be a time that the veil will become so thin that we'll be able to actually see the higher beings and interact with them like how normally you and I are interacting. So what is going to happen in 2024, 25, 26, and in the coming decade?
Okay, so yeah, I mean, for sure, that's definitely a possibility. I see a lot more spiritual practitioners and spirituality going into mainstream media. So there'll be a lot more exposure. There'll be a lot more exposure of these beings. I mean, if not maybe even full disclosure, because obviously disclosure is happening already on an individual level. Maybe for the next like 5-10 years, full economic redistribution, water accessible for everyone, food accessible for everyone, just a general like wealth redistribution as well, so that people are able to live in better conditions. Ideally that's where we are directed. That's where I would hope humanity is anchoring into going. But again, like there's so many timelines. It's really difficult to make predictions and on any of this because everything can change so quickly. But we have entered the lower tiers of fourth dimensional positively polarized earth, which means that we're gonna get there one way or another. That's where we're going. Like it's like we've passed the threshold of like not ascending, not awakening. We can't go back. We can just go forward. So the speed at how we're going to get there, what's going to happen for us to get there, it's very difficult to tell, but we are going to get there for sure.
Okay, so some are saying that money itself is going to go away and there's going to be a different financial system altogether. So what's your understanding about that?
I think that I don't think money itself is going to go away. I think there will be a financial redistribution, and I think that if that happens, it won't be like a dramatic thing where everyone will lose everything and we're all going to start fighting for food. That's not what's going to happen. If there is a transition, it's going to be more gentle, and there's going to be balance within that transition as well, and it's going to come from a space of unconditional love, and it's going to be worked through for the people, by the people, and with an understanding and the benefit of the people in mind in general. It's not like if you worked hard all your life to earn your house, all of a sudden it's taken away from you and you have nothing. Like that's just, so you have to also understand that for me, I don't really do any external research. What I know is what I channel. I actually specifically get told to not really do any external research, but there's a lot of distortion and miscommunication out there. There's a lot of apocalyptic timeline theories. And what happens is sometimes, well, a lot of the times, energy workers and channelers will see these timelines to clear them. They will see them in their meditation. They will see them within the astral space. It's not that it's necessarily going to happen. They're seeing it to clear it, but some people don't have the conscious awareness to understand that, and they have a channel. They're like, oh my God, I saw the destruction. This is what's going to happen. Meanwhile, they were actually just clearing it so that it's not going to happen. So this is what was explained to me a few years ago, that a lot of these apocalyptic timelines that people are seeing are not actually going to happen. They're just seeing them because they're clearing them.
Wow, that's a huge relief, because that was my next question actually. That what I understand is most of the people don't know that Earth is a sentient being. Gaia, Mother Earth, is a sentient being, and there's so much destruction that humanity has done on Earth, and that is why now Earth is kind of giving it back, so to say, to bring that balance here. And that's why there is so much of unrest and natural disasters and wars happening. So what's your understanding about this?
Well, it's Earth clearing its own karmic cycles. I mean, like we are doing it, so does the Earth, So it's kind of like as per contract, and the contract of the people that are leaving Earth is their contract within their own soul experience and their contract with the Earth as well. Obviously, having said that, we still want to hold love, compassion, send light, and send healing to these situations, but yeah, they are as per contract and necessary. And without spiritually bypassing any of it, we need to also come into an understanding that, we as a collective are really powerful, and we can assist these experiences so we can make them gentler, we can make them easier. There doesn't have to be war. Like Mother Gaia can clear her karma in other ways, but if it's happening, then what we can do is just send light, send compassion, send healing, and if we feel like it, use our voice to speak about certain matters or to send light to certain matters and to share, how we feel about it. But yeah, I think everything is in divine alignment. The best thing that we can do is lead by example, and again goes back to being a good human. And you'd be surprised of the ripple effect that just your frequency and your actions will have to the people around you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, one person at a time. Start with
Exactly.
yourself, and yeah. So what I understand is from ancient yogis, especially from India, some of them are immortal, and they have been like I had taken interview of a couple of people who channel Mahavatar Babaji. He's a 2,500-year-old saint, ascended master, and he's still living. And how these yogis can do it is vibrate at a frequency higher than light. And that's how they are being able to retain their bodies. When you bring in so much of light with the light language in your body, what is your understanding? Are we going to ascend along with our bodies in the fifth dimension? Are we going to be light bodies and light beings all together? How is it going to happen?
So we're going to have both options. This is what used to be like in ancient Lemuria. We will have access to our physical body, but we'll be able to choose whether to leave it, operate, from our astral body and live through our astral body, and then use the physical to do other stuff and whatnot. So that's my understanding. That's what it used to be like in ancient Lemuria. So there would be the physical bodies because, you still need the physical body if you want to procreate or have a baby, or you can you kind of need to make them in the 3D, but also we will be able to access the astral body and navigate from that body and do other things. The aging process will be exponentially slowed down, so there'll be a lot of things that will shift and change. But so this will take probably, maybe we'll see it in our lifetimes, who knows, but for sure, I don't think we're gonna leave our bodies behind. I think we're gonna still have our bodies. They might be more evolved bodies. We'll eliminate things like disease. They might be healthier bodies, and we might have more control onto what the body does, or how it looks like, or how it is present and working. But I still think we will still be anchored within the physical.
Yeah, we'll have to actually see how it unfolds, and probably each being will have a different choice depending on how he or she ascends, probably, right?
Yes, exactly. Well, I think again, we are in the ascension, there isn't one ascended experience that people we're moving through it now. So the free will determines the choices that determine the experience of your ascension.
Absolutely. And some of us are moving from 3D to 4D to 5D. Some of us are moving from 7th to 8th to 9th. So it will all depend on where you are at and your journey as such. That's my understanding.
Yes, exactly.
Okay. So can we channel light language now?
Yeah, sure. I'll do a transmission. So you can just start by relaxing your body and closing your eyes.
Okay.
As you anchor into the body, you find your comfortable breathing rhythm. With every inhale, you breathe in light. And with every exhale, you release all that doesn't serve you anymore. As you relax the body, the system, the energy field, you stay in a space of openness and oneness. And as we call on the Archangelic Collective, Michael to the south, Uriel to the north, Raphael to the east, and Gabriel to the west, we call on Archangel Metatron with his blue cloak of protection from above, and Samaphon to seal the grid from below. As we call on our higher selves or spirit guides, anyone else who wishes to be present for the greatest and highest good, you're welcome in the space. Opening systems, opening. Oi shinayata, tratreatrik ok oi shiraya siata kashita creatre ok oi shinayata, releasing, opening, attuning, yakura ishera sisi sieta kaka reatre ora ishera yatra, naya rota triatet et oi sia sera yatra, releasing, expanding, more light, divine rays, anchoring into systems, more light, anchoring, attuning, Attuning, clean, releasing, letting go, 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 letting go of all that does not serve you. Trana reate o a iase adquiero ara trana rearit tre asi asaina yatek aro koa ishetaka tria re atreo koa iseya ne ania tuana ishiataka trana ishetakre atreya sek oro koa ishera yatra raya rea shiro koa na ishera takra tria kit oa neseset atreo ora ishera yatra tria trik oro clearly releasing tuning attuning systems, bringing in more light, divine rays, anchoring more rays, rainbow rays, attuning, clearing, releasing judgment, releasing fear, letting go. Na raya takiara te ora ishera tra tratriatic enokoa si ate aya ishera takra tre oro tre asi tera opening expanding attuning third eye activation attuning opening more light coming in divine rays lower rays rainbow rays, violet rays, platinum white light, silver rays, golden rays, anchoring, angelic rays, crested rays, anchoring, ra tita te set ora isera tri na expanding it ura tre ti na no ni ne na ya atria sietara ishi attuning systems attuning at na ni ura isera ishitia yata kre na reasietu koa reasietara tre ki da shirayata urayash ase se sayata kara ishirayatra tre oro isayatre aya ishenataka na tre codes of self-love, self-trust, anchoring codes of sovereignty, activating sovereignty, activating memory construct, releasing judgment, releasing all structures, all paradigms, letting go, all programs, dismantling, activating blueprint template, dismantling, bringing in new codes, new energies, new light, anchoring, lighting up, rainbow rays, spectrum activation. Shatoku Tasia se kokoro ishia trea kiese su kokot kratre acheya taratra trakrieta kia sea sietaran rea kokoa ishia Taya terakre, trea te ora ia se sere troko aishe naratra, shekoko tre asia kara shetakra, traya trea krekt croasia sainaya tare, traya shirataka, trea naia, grounding. Anchoring, grounding, attuning, clearing peripheral, clearing, releasing, activating cranial structure, clearing, releasing spinal column, nervous system, blood circulation, clearing, releasing toxins, letting go, more light, divine rays, anchoring, grounding, closing ceiling, closing systems, closing ceiling, anchoring, grounding, na si ateka hu ishianataka ranaria trek na creatito kuko isietaka Taishe shokora tre aqui ona is essa ishirayataka As we anchor back into the now, come back into the present moment, maybe moving our fingers, our toes. Whenever we feel ready, we can open our eyes. There's no rush, just gently arriving back to the present moment.
Wow.
Hey, how are you feeling?
Yeah, lighter. Very refreshing and very light. I had activation in the head area. So, yeah, it was beautiful. Thank you.
Pleasure. Yeah. And just for everyone who's listening, the codes will take a little bit to recalibrate, so you can feel them in the next few days as well. Not necessarily, but you might feel a bit more emotional. You might have old things come up to be resurfaced. You might feel like you want to eat more, sleep more, just hydrate, drink lots of water. If you get irritated, that can also happen. So just be mindful, like your system will be recalibrating.
Yeah, thank you. That was very powerful. So I have a few questions like rapid fire, which I ask all my guests. So is it okay if I ask you those?
Okay, perfect.
Okay. So if you have to explain multidimensional soul to a common person or a layman, how would you explain it?
A multidimensional soul. Just a soul existing on different planes. So instead of it being one soul, it's many souls all existing at the same time beyond the concepts of time and space.
Okay. What is holistic well-being to you?
A new age concept. I try to move away from attachment to identity, and like, I think words have been so overused and oversaturated sometimes that you don't have to use the terms to embody the frequency and the emotion. I think holistic well-being is a beautiful term that can be used for beautiful, but I also think that sometimes these terms get like overused and thrown around, and almost like they lose a little bit. So I think it doesn't matter what something says or what it's labeled. If it feels good and that's the direction you want to go down, follow your heart and follow what you feel. Don't follow what is written somewhere or what someone else is telling you if it doesn't feel right.
Okay. What is the ultimate purpose of life, according to you?
Creation. So we are here to create, whether it's creating more of self or creating other aspects. I was actually shown this in a vision. I think it was back in 2022. I was shown I became a cell in my meditation, and then the cell started multiplying, and I started dividing myself, and I obviously accessed an old memory of mine. And I was connected to source, and I asked, what is it? Why are you showing me? And I was told, this is it. This is what it's about. It's about the creation.
Wow. What is love, according to you?
An alignment in frequency.
What is self-love?
A high alignment in frequency.
What message do you have for this podcast, this channel?
Well, first of all, thank you so much for having me and for trusting me with your time and your space. And thank you for everyone who is here and who has gotten to the end of this and has listened through to this. And yeah, like really, guys, just trust yourselves, trust your intuition, stay present, stay grounded, be a nice person, help your neighbor if they need help. And yeah, just really navigate your life from the heart and everything else will align.
Yeah, thank you. So that was the parting message for the audience. Do you have anything for me specifically for this podcast?
I think keep doing what you're doing. You're doing amazing. We need more people with your voice, with your truth, and with your power to be out there. So again, yeah, thank you so much and carry on this way.
Thank you. Thank you. It's been lovely having you here. Can we tell people how they can connect with you, how they can contact you?
Sure. So generally just through my website or through my email. I think you're going to leave all my links below here. I have a workshop that's coming up on the 11/11, which is going to be about It's going to be a Dragon Body Activation Law of One workshop. So that's going to be really powerful. And it will be on the 1111 portal. And then for those of you who are listening who are in the States, I will be in New York at the end of January for next year. And I will be at the Conscious Life Expo in LA in February. Now I'm taking in-person activations. So you can message me through my website or through my email if you want to connect with me through there. And then obviously I have online sessions. I do light language activations, Akashic clearings. I've got 6-week and 6-month program. I've got abundance mentorships, and I've got about 20 different workshops on psychic attack, releasing attachments, opening the third eye, just a lot of different things. So if you can just go through my website and you'll see all of that. And then I have a Costa Rica retreat coming up in November, but that's fully booked. But I do retreats as well. So we'll have more coming up next year too.
Yeah, wonderful. You're doing such profound and such great, amazing work for the collective, for the humanity, and for raising the vibration of our planet. So thank you for doing that. And thank you so much. It's so lovely to have you here on my podcast.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you for watching and listening in wherever you are in the world. As Ramdas says, that we all are just walking each other home. So thank you for co-creating the new earth along with me and our guests. And if you resonate with me, do subscribe to my channel and do let us know how you find our episodes. Thank you so much. Lots of love.